the wife was asking me, why don't we make that rack hold the rooftop tent? I totally didn't even think about that. So here I am. This is what's left of my material. Looks like a whole bunch, but when I try to make a span that will span the 89.5 inches I need to span to tie in the front bar and the rear bar, my pickings are pretty low. I have a bunch that's 1 inch. I don't think 1 inch is going to do it. I have run into a conundrum of I don't want to buy any metal for this thing because it's temporary. So this morning I took a look at this. Well, as I kick something, you can't see that right there. It looks like a rectangular tube. It is actually 2 angles that are welded together. At our shop, we often get tank shells, and if they're wide, like 10, 12 feet in diameter, they'll tack angle in there to keep them from folding, because if they don't have heads on them, they're actually not strong enough, so they'll egg in shipment. This guy is, I thought it was going to be maybe 1/4 inch, because it's pretty big. It's been capped. So this was on there. You can see where they cut it off of the pad on the tank, so we can work on it. I thought it might have been 1/4 inch. It's actually 3/8 inch thick angle. That should more than make the distance and the strength required, because if I'm using 1/8 inch, I'm only going to be a 1/4 inch thickness equivalent, and this is going to be 3/8. This would be 50% thicker than everything else is on this job when you add up the sidewalls. So I'm going to use this. It's welded in 4 spots there, and 1 back here in the end. I'm going to measure it out. I might be able to actually just cut off these tips that are welded, so I don't have to grind out the middle too. Driver's side is 89 3/4. Passenger side is 90 1/8. I'm gonna make both sides 90, and I'll cause it to square up some. I'm gonna change up my plan. I'm gonna add the thicknesses of the material so I can notch the edge of the angle and rest the angle on top and just drill a straight hole, no welding. That'd be a little more elegant of a solution, I think. Originally it was 90. I have a 3 1/4 of added material because I have 1 3/4 and 1 1/2. So that gives me 1 1/4. I'm going to add another 1/4 to 3 1/2, so I have a little bit of play. Yeah, I like that idea. So I don't have the tabs, cut those down to either side, just rest it on top. Why the overlap? I want these to be bolted on. I want these to be bolted on because that rack solution is not a permanent, well, it is a permanent solution, but it'll be not always there. I want it to be able to come off and on the truck when needed. This thing's welded up to a massive 8-foot by 4-foot by 6-foot cage. I can't store that anywhere. When this thing's not in use, this thing's going to be relatively flat packed. I can store it above the garage, I can store it in the backyard, I can store it in a bunch of places. Other than the back beam itself, I can store it actually in the metal rack, because it'll be all flat. So I have 2 welds, one here, got cut off, flip it over, and do it again. Fortunately, no more bands off of that. Okay, I have 2 separate. Looks alright. 2 by 2 by 3/8 handles now. Should be more than enough for what I need. And now I don't normally wear full leathers and hats and ear pro and stuff like that. Well, for grinding and cutting, anything with angle grinder, I definitely wear eye pro and ear pro. But that would have hurt a lot without the leather. There would have been a lot of little pieces of metal being flung on me. So now I gotta cut notches on either side so I have wings. I made it all a little extra long, so I'm gonna make, instead of basically make all of it 1.5 inches, no, 1 3/4 slots. There we go. If you're wondering what I was using, first was a cutoff wheel that's for straight cuts. Then I grabbed my other grinder. It normally has a flapper wheel on it. It's basically sandpaper stacked on top of each other. That's really good for small grinding, smoothing type of operations, but this was really heavy weld, so then I took my angle grinder, had the cutoff wheel, took that off and put actual grinding wheel on. The grinding wheel is good for bulk removal, but not really for cutting because it's over 1/8 inch thick. Likewise, the cutting wheel is not good for any grinding because it's like a 1/16 inch thick. It will explode real easy. And those things are moving, 1,500, 2,000 RPM or faster. At the top of my head, I don't remember. And you don't want those things exploding on you. So using the right grinder is. Oh. Anyway, that's the layout. I had a really cool video of it being done, but we're band slid over it. So one thing I wish this bandsaw did have, which the better ones do, is variable speed. if I could crawl with this thing to get this thing, at least get the tension up before cutting, I wouldn't have popped the track like I just did. Here's the back side. Both sides cut. I'll clean this up with a flapper disc so it'll be a little smoother. But I'll do is drop a single bolt through the top, acts as a pin. But this actual 3/8 material will be my load bearing side. I'm trying to decide actually any new welding or anything like that to the rack. I like it. Okay, so up here, back over here where my head was, I'm gonna drop single bolts down there. Don't be big, probably 1/4 inch like I did the front there. All they're acting as pins. That's gonna take a lot of shear to break those pins. My biggest concern is vertical loading. That is a pretty hefty bar actually, and there's 2 of them. Then what I'll do is my crossbars, very where I need to be, drill hole, I'll put crossbars going across, and at the end of each bar, I'll probably do a similar thing like this. I'll actually lap on top, but then bolt into the side, not bolt in the top, so it's still relatively smooth on the top. And those would be for like the rooftop tent and stuff like that. If that doesn't look like it's going to work out well, I will make it flush with the top and slowly rest on bolts on the side. Well, that does sound risky. I mean, I'll use like a 5/8 grade 8, which would be a couple £1,000 shear. It doesn't. I mean, people say, "Oh, you hold it by a bolt." That bolt actually takes a lot of effort to break. Anyway, this is where I'm going to stop right now. I might continue this video, but otherwise, have a good one. So it's set up, so I'll drill 2 holes where I need it, and I can just adjust it forward and back as needed. So, let's do it. So here we are. The rack is complete. I'll now have the front cross member, second cross member to put on the tent. Unlike the FJ and the 4Runner, it won't stick out past the side of the truck. We have about 1 foot and change because this thing is massive. But the way it's done is we have 2 bolts pinning it left to right, but actually the load's held by the beam and then held by the top of the angle. Simplicity is key, guys. Simplicity is key. So one thing I didn't talk about on this thing, this rack right now is super high off the ground. It's a good 1.5 feet higher than any other rack we have, mostly because this vehicle is just massive. I did check the current ladder I have for the tent will work. I might do something kind of sneaky, and I think, and I'll show you guys once I put the tent on. I think I put the tent on top, slide it over a little bit, and actually have the ladder land on the truck bed itself. That might be pretty interesting. My next project for this temporary rack is to put my wife's 8-foot awning on probably the driver's side, because we still want to have the ladder going to be on the passenger side. The main reason for that is if you're on the side of the road or a situation with a trail, you don't want to be exiting. You want to exit the vehicle off the road. The last thing you want to do is go down the ladder and some kind of side-by-side is plow into you, because they're blasting their techno music on their light wave, whatever the hell they drive. I mean, they have fun times. I like going off road in the AC, but they're fun though. So anyway, simplicity is key on this thing. I'm not doing anything complicated. This thing literally is going to be temporary. It's for basically two things. First one is going to be temporary usage for camping. It's going to take us a couple of months, if not longer, to build this camper, because we're going to build it right. It's going to be expensive. Besides this project, besides my house, is going to be the second most expensive project we have. It seems like each vehicle gets more expensive than the previous one. So the camper shell is going to take a while. This will be a temporary rack that's probably going to be up here on the conservative side, 5-6 months probably of use. I am going to take it down and paint it. I want to test fit everything before I commit to painting it, but it's just going to be a rental can paint job. The second goal of this thing is now I have a successful ladder rack. I gotta bring 24 foot sticks of aluminum home. I have a big truck, but it only has an 8-foot bed. Even if I cut them down to half size, I'm still looking at 12.5 foot plus sticks of steel or aluminum. Those will fit nicely on my. This is just at an 8-foot rack. The bed I think is about 8.5 feet long. I stopped a little short at the very end. So this is going to be for material handling and camping. So it's going to serve dual purpose. And I think it's going to do really well. The next thing that's going to be cool about this thing is, I think I set this up right. It's when I put the permanent box in the front. This will still be able to be put on, which is a huge bonus. I'm going to want to do that. And my first permanent quote-unquote camper project for this thing is going to be the electrical box, because that's going to be what will help supply everything to the camper, and I can do my experimentation in small scale. It's essentially I'm going to be making an 18-inch or 2-foot long mini camper to hold the electronics, the spare tire, traction boards, recovery gear, so that it stays with us at all times. You guys saw the drawings. We have chosen to change the plan a little bit. We're probably going to go to a true dog box style. That'll let us have more room in there. I'm not to worry about getting a special enclosure. I can just make the box. And that'll give us more room for everything. It'll be more universal. It's not going to be the spot's dedicated for a tire. I mean, that's what always be dedicated for a tire, but like the spot that has of diesel and extra diff fluid or DEF fluid. Don't confuse with differential fluid. I carry that too. It is a Ford. Hopefully it's not, Ford light. Sorry, Ford guys. But it'll be more universal. We can store stuff in there. We can store clothes in there, or some small things if we don't need the full camper for the trip. And on those cool trips we don't need the full camper, we can throw this rack on here, put the tent back on, and go out. We got a full 1,000 pounds lighter. That's gonna be cool. Actually, it's probably gonna be closer to 1,200 pounds lighter. Yeah. So the key is flexibility and still have capacity. I'm trying my best to not fail in either of those categories, which is really hard when we have to compromise on something. I think the only thing I've compromised so far is I'm sitting on top of a boat. It's literally longer than a lot of boats. It's a 23-foot long vehicle. A lot of boats are, I got my 16-foot bass boat or 20-foot bass boat. Yeah, I still got 5 feet on you. Anyway. Next thing you'll see, I might even combine it in the series of this, because I think we're going to split this up into 2, possibly 3 videos. We'll be putting the 8-foot awning that's on my wife's 4Runner on the side here. We'll have to see how tall it is actually set up for, because this might be too tall for the legs. Because ideally we'll have it set up so if we have friends, we can set up the awning room that has that I'm pointing over because that's where the 4Runner actually is. that Airbnb awning, we have the full 8 foot by 8 foot room, so we seriously already have, you know, everything a lot of people. I know it's sad. I already have everything most people want for a vehicle, but I want more. So damn it, I want to make more. Catch you guys later.